I want to remind you guys that we do have books for sale, and since the authors are here, we can sign them and everything, and the cheapest ones I think are $10. So,
Do you want to introduce some of the other authors since some new people just got here?
sure. This is Serena Toxicat. Say hi.
No.
Okay. And that's Emery and Rich back there.
Hi, everyone. I'm short, so I'll stand up.
So they're gonna read again because we're doing the little 15-minute reading thing. Can somebody make sure that I only read for 15 minutes because, yeah.
Okay, go
Otherwise,
ahead.
I'll probably
I'll time you.
keep reading. Okay.
Okay, it's whenever you're ready.
Okie dokie. Okay, I'm ready. So this is Happiness and Other Diseases, and it's a story about Flynn Keahy, who has been having a rough year because his nightmares have started to become real, and that's not good. Furthermore, since he's got a bit of a psychiatric issue, people don't believe him, so that's his other problem. And these creatures that are coming out of his nightmares pretty much want to take over the earth and start harming people, and he's the only one who can stop him, but that might cost him his life, and things get more complicated when, you know, one of them starts falling in love with him, and maybe she can save him, I'm not really sure. It sounds more spicy, like on the cover where it says, she wants him in every forbidden way. But will she be able to save him from his fate? Can she even save him from herself? So this is actually based on Greco-Roman mythology and dream creatures that are in that mythology. Okay, and it's called Happiness and Other Diseases. Prelude. Her skin was black as pitch, her obsidian hair unfurled into the sky in waves of endlessly flowing darkness. It swirled and danced like ink spilled into water. Curling tendrils waved as they were set adrift, threatening to engulf the sky where she reclined. As she settled in for the evening, her ebony skin erupted with the bright pinpoint lights of twinkling stars. They were her birthmarks, separated by space and time. Her name was Nyx, and she was the night. She opened her alabaster eye, gazed down upon the earth, and was troubled. Something was amiss. Reluctantly descending from her resting place in the sky, she retired to one of her many palaces. This particular abode was a mountain on the surface of Venus. She chose it because a human had named it in her honor, which pleased her immensely. Once she settled in, she summoned her twin sons, Somnus and Thanatos, who were asleep in death. Somnus, Thanatos, sit. We have much to speak of, she bade them, gesturing towards the two seats at her table. Thanatos gave Somnus a sideways glance. Both of the boys knew they were in trouble. Thanatos, Nyx began, I have noticed a disturbing trend lately. More and more of the humans are dying in their sleep, and I can't help but think that you and your brother are up to no good. Nightmares. It was the same dream he'd had every night for the past year, but every time it haunted him, little details changed. Minor changes in setting and action were not the only differences in his bedtime story. Every time he had the dream, things went a little bit further than the last. The last couple of dreams had taken place in a powdery gray office chair behind the plain white formica-coated IKEA computer desk in his cubicle at work. He was tired of staring at the navy blue cubicle tiles. 4 mismatched push pins secured a printout of the company's phone directory. He was more than a little relieved for a change of scenery. In this dream, he was sitting on a bar stool at Murphy's Tavern. A half a dozen co-workers from the call center were seated around the bar, sucking down shots of tequila and pint glasses of domestic beer poured out in abundance from the various $10 pitchers purchased for the party. Richard and Candy from accounting were on stage belting out their drunken rendition of Summer Lovin' from the musical Grease. Richard hammed it up with gratuitous hip gyrations, winking and serenading the secretary seated in the front row. By contrast, Cindy failed to make eye contact with anyone, keeping her doe-eyed gaze fixed firmly on the karaoke monitor. Flynn remembered that part of the dream from last October. It was a going-away party for someone from the constantly rotating administrative pool staff. He couldn't remember the girl's name, but he remembered her suits. She was in her late 20s or early 30s, yet she wore tailored pink and powder blue designer suits that put him in mind of Nancy Reagan, of all things. It seemed very incongruous for a woman of her age and economics. He always wondered if they were hand-me-downs from a formerly fashionable maiden aunt. Richard and Cindy finished their songs right after he finished his beer. 4 drunken, obnoxious dudes from the IT department were halfway through their voluminous and off-key rendition of Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody when that thing finally showed up. Just like in every previous nightmare, it materialized suddenly out of thin air. One moment he was looking down at his own dog-tired mug in the mirror on the bar back. The next he was staring into the gaping maw of whatever it was that terrorized his dreams. It rarely took the same form twice. This time it was shadowy and semi-translucent. It had withered legs and arms resembling the gnarled branches of a lightning-struck tree. They were almost humanoid, yet woefully emaciated. The creature was straddling his lap, facing him with its talons resting on either side of his shoulders. Flynn gasped as he felt the claws effortlessly sliding into his flesh at his right shoulder. He felt a hot gush of blood flow out of his wounds and then slowly trickle down the back of his white t-shirt. He would have screamed, but he knew from experience that no one in the bar would hear him. His breath came in ragged, gasping pants as he struggled to maintain his composure. That creature knew it was hurting him, but Flynn didn't want it to see him sweat. "So," he hissed under his breath, "the last time you showed up as a foxy-looking redhead. You aren't bothering with pretenses this time, I see." "This isn't my true form either," the thing cooed back, leaning over and licking the side of his face with its wide green tongue. In the mirror, Flynn could see a thick trail of snail-like goo on his face where the saliva touched him. Its breath was mossy and tepid, but not entirely unpleasant. It smelled like the inside of a cave on a camping trip he remembered from childhood. Without wanting to, he found himself relaxing into the short leather back of the bar stool. He felt warm and a little dizzy, but he knew it wasn't the alcohol. "I thought I would see if you like it rough this time," the creature whispered in his ear. Flynn turned away and lifted a hand in front of his face. "Don't, please don't," he begged, knowing before the words left his lips that all of his pleas would be in vain. A slender tendril of quivering flesh extended from a spot in its forehead, above and between where its eyes would have been. Instead of eyes, it had a row of 5 vacant dimples, each shallow, empty socket lined with a membranous gel that breathed in and out like the gills on a fish. The appendage was as thick around as a large earthworm and lengthened rapidly, engorged until its throbbing tip touched his skin. He could feel it writhing its way up his cheek. Although he knew what to expect by now, his body convulsed involuntarily. He felt the tendril wind its way up his nose. It thrust itself into his nostrils, sliding in deeper until it penetrated his brain. In this incarnation, the creature's mouth was as wide as his own head. Behind the series of fleshy polyps that jiggled dangling from its moist lips, its hideous jaws were lined with sharp, jagged teeth. Its voice was wet and sucking. The sound A puddle of hot shit in a clogged toilet in the bar would probably make it start to speak. Flynn hated its voice. I can do whatever I want to you, it cruelly purred. I can even make you like it. Okay, is that 15 minutes?
Just about.